In the past couple of years, I traveled Europe, I wrote a book, which is currently in the publishing process. I gained a tiny audience here on YouTube and started a business. Now in this video, I'm going to show you how I did everything and why I don't rely on motivation to take action. Once again, I'm going to give you 6 steps on how you can achieve anything. Why motivation stinks. Okay, just gonna write this down. Dinks. Motivation is something that we don't have all the time. I just imagine me to be a ball. I want to roll, but I can't because I don't have any momentum. I have anything to keep me going. Now, motivation is basically a little tiny man here pushing me somewhere. This is motivation. And I want to move in this direction. Motivation can appear in all kinds of forms. A YouTube video, a person, some inspiring words from your parents, why not? Some inspiring words from your grandparents. It can be a line in a book that you have been reading, a line in a movie that you have watched. Man, it can be outside the world and that can motivate you, yeah? Literally anything. All of those things that I just listed don't belong to you though. They're out there, somewhere. You can't really touch them. You might be able to touch them. You can't fully take them with you and just fully consume it all the time. No, you are independent of them. You can't have a book next to you the entire time and just read through the chapter that you find so motivating. And at one point or another it gets boring. You can't just constantly listen to your parents and them just constantly repeating the word that you want to hear. I mean, you can have a post-it up the entire time that gives you some form of motivation, but after a certain period of time, motivation fades. So even though we might be super motivated right away, yeah, and it's super cool, we're getting motivated, we eventually aren't anymore. And then we kind of reach a top, a peak, until motivation drops again. And sadly, and most often, it drops quicker than we pick up pace. So we can't rely on motivation. It's not inside of us. It's nothing that we can just constantly have. Except for one thing. I'm going to write over it and just make one massive A on top. What does it stand for? Action. Taking action leads to motivation. Doing something. Have you ever noticed that? Doing something leads to motivation. You starting to work out wants you to work out even more. You starting to study wants you to study even more. You starting anything wants you to do that certain thing even more. Of course, we run in some form of walls where we just can't push behind, and always is difficult. But at the end of the day, we keep going because we started. So the initial thought should not be, how do I get motivated? It should be, how do I get started? And now this is what I want to talk about. How do we get started? We talked about particular external motivation and internal motivation. Internal motivation is just yeah, I feel so hyped, it's 12 AM, it's 2 AM in the morning. Yes, it's so great. I need to go to sleep, but I don't want to. I've got energy, let's do 30 push-ups because I can, I'm strong. I don't know, let's write a paragraph or something like that. All of that is internal motivation, it's great and so on. But what really brings you forward is taking action on the actual journey that you want to take. How do we take action? We're taking steps. Small ones. The tiniest ones imaginable. So small that it becomes stupid for you to take action at all. Imagine you sit down at your desk and you need to write a paragraph. You need to write your thesis. I know that some people out there need to write their thesis right now. You need to write a book. Why not? You need to write an article. You need to do this one exercise. You need to do this one flashcard. Whatever. Read something. You need to read a chapter. You need to read a book. The measurement can be infinitively large. And what we have to do as individual human beings, you and I, is to break it down into a chunk that is manageable and reasonable for us. And that can go down to us sitting at our desk, and I know that itself can be a struggle. Us picking up a pen, which of course can be a struggle. Us picking up the notes, the books, everything that we need, which can be a struggle. Walls that we kind of need to push through, or that we need to climb above. Pits that we need to climb out of. Take baby steps. Break it down to the smallest, most minuscule, absolute ridiculous part that you can imagine. And that is how you get motivated. How our regular cycle looks like, yeah? Just talked about that action leads to motivation, but most often it also does something else. We take action. I'm just gonna write that down, I hope you can read it. we take action, which ultimately leads to happiness. Now, that I need to explain, obviously. Happiness. How can action lead to happiness right away? You've seen that 1,000 times before. You're going on YouTube like right now and just get this dopamine boost. You're going on shorts, going to pick up chocolate, you're going to play a video game, gives you instant gratification. All of those things that are cravings, I'd say, of course, yeah, to some extent you can treat yourself and so on. They're all legit, it's all fine. But at one point or another, they can get quite toxic. It's ruling out the journey towards it and just focuses on the result behind it. So happiness, as a result, can be quite damaging. Doesn't have to be, but can be quite damaging. Should not be the primary source of, again, motivation. Nevertheless, because of that instant, I'm just gonna call instant happiness, yeah? Instant happiness, most often, because we don't take the appropriate action that we need to, leads to regret. And that is nothing that we all want to live with, do we? We don't like the feeling of regret, the feeling of needing to do something and then not doing it, also called procrastination. We don't like that type of feeling, do we? Nah, it's not good. Especially afterwards, it's just like, oh man, I could have done something, you know? I could have done something. But the beauty of it is, again, that after you feel regret, either you feel completely down and fall in some form of depression, or you feel motivated. Motivation. Yeah, motivation. So you take action again. Even though this is not positive, this is not positive, this might potentially be positive. But this here is now, because it has this cause here, the instant gratification, instant happiness, the instant regret, is nothing that you can rely on again. You don't want to feel regret, do you? You don't want to feel happy. I mean, you do want to feel happy, of course, but you don't want to, like, be on YouTube. You don't want to procrastinate the entire time. You want to get your work done and then feel eventually happy and feel motivated. These 4 steps are very common, and I think the majority of us, you, me included, we're going through this every single day. So how do we escape this trap now? Alright, whiteboard again, we're back to the beginning. Actually, not quite, because we already talked about important things. That would be that action somehow leads to motivation, yeah? Cool! That's a very, very good start. And this is what we want to do. Like, we want to take action right away, not based on some form of instant gratification, but we want to take action because we chose to take action. Like, for example, we want to study, want to get our work done, and so on, which is all action, which makes us motivated. We talked about this at the beginning. Have you ever heard of the word momentum? Basically, when something is in motion, it's easier to keep it going. It wants to stay in motion. For example, a rock. Again, we are back at the rock example, going down a hill. It's very difficult to maybe push a rock in one direction, like on a flat surface. Very difficult here. But as soon as we go downhill, quite easy. Just like, let it fall, it's gonna do its thing. And that's basically momentum. So you pick up pace, you gain inertia, and so on, and so on, and so on. You get quicker, you get better, and so on. And because of that, you gain discipline. Doing something, even if you don't want to do it. If you need to take a step and you're doing it independent of if you like to or if you don't like to, that's discipline. And momentum leads to discipline. If you just keep on doing, independent of if you feel down or if you feel super high, it doesn't matter. You just keep on going because you have this form of momentum built up. That is that leads eventually to discipline. Now discipline eventually leads to results, and results and more leads to something that we've had in the earlier equation again and already. And not happiness based on some form of thing that we did, like for example going through YouTube shorts and just keep scrolling, keep scrolling, keep scrolling. It all feels good. It's great. It's like a, I don't know, like a drug to us. But happiness because we took action. Happiness because we did the things that we were supposed to do. And now if we're happy, and when we're happy, we immediately take more action. This is a cycle that we should be focusing on. We should be taking action, which leads to motivation, not motivation, which leads to action. Motivation, then that leads to momentum. Momentum leads to discipline. Discipline leads to results. Results leads to happiness. Now, I want to point this out, even though this is not part of the overall cycle at the moment. All of those steps here should theoretically make you happy. Happiness itself should not be an end goal, because it's nothing that you can quantify. You can't say, I want to be happy. You should be happy all the time while taking action. Then take action again. And with that, everyone, we're indefeatable. If you have a project, it might be any project at all, and you're currently procrastinating, this is your to-go-to approach. No matter how crappy it looks right now, the meaning behind it is hopefully what you picked up on. So I hope you enjoyed the video, and if you want to watch one about how you can, based on science, achieve your academic grades, results, everything that you have in mind, how to be more productive, how to actually learn something while studying, check this video out up here.